Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The fading of the music only means one thing, and it means it's time for Here's the Thing. Here's the Thing, brought to you by We Don't Have a Sponsor. You like that? But I'm Kevin Smith, alongside me, Jacob Claspill, here in the Galaxy Radio Studios. We got a good show for you today here from 1 to 2 on a rainy Wednesday afternoon, Jacob. It's raining out, but that means it's spring.
It's spring, and I'm happy it's spring because spring means one thing.
Baseball.
And
you know what? Baseball in New York, there was snow on the ground.
And Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh.
It was next to freezing.
36 degrees for opening day for the Yankees. Man, that is unfortunate. Do they start the season too early?
No, I just think they started in the wrong locations. I think instead of being at Pittsburgh, it could have been at St. Louis, and instead of being at New York, it could have been wherever.
They're playing Houston.
Yeah,
so
it could be in Houston.
Yeah, but guys, the big news, you know what it is. It was the Final Four this weekend. We talked about it a lot last week. I thought Oklahoma was going to win, Jacob. You picked Oklahoma too, didn't you?
I did. I picked Oklahoma and Syracuse.
Oklahoma, they made it a game for about 8 minutes, and then no. The biggest Final Four win in college basketball history. It's a 44-point win for the Villanova Wildcats. And the crazy thing about it is they played earlier in the season, and Oklahoma won by 23, a 67-point swing. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
Oh, not at all. And I think it just goes to show that the Villanova team got better as the season went on, and Oklahoma kind of just stayed the same. But, I mean, that everyone complains about how UConn, the women's team, is going through and dominating everybody. Well, that Villanova game was probably just as boring. And, I mean, you can credit it to certain players on Oklahoma that contributed in the first game that really didn't contribute in the second game.
Buddy Hield got shut down.
Yeah, and Buddy Hield was definitely contained in that game.
And that's how they won. And really, I don't think that's necessarily how they won. Buddy Hield could have scored 40 points, and Villanova still would have won by 10. But the thing is, Villanova shot 71%. And no matter who you're playing, if you shoot 71%, it's hard to lose. 71%. Like, you can shoot that in a half maybe, but they shot that over the entire game. And that was just really impressive. And credit Villanova. They came out. A lot of people doubted them. They really did. A lot of people said, hey, this team can't make it. Jay Wright finally gets the monkey off his back, makes the championship game, and he's going up against North Carolina, a team that from the beginning of the year, people said this team is most talented in the country. North Carolina. And they, to their credit, they made it to the championship game. And Syracuse put up a good fight, made a comeback, but talent won out in the end of the day.
Yeah,
in that other final.
And that's the way Carolina always played the season. It was close at some points throughout the season, but then their depth and their talent at the end showed. Their conditioning showed, and they just would wear you down. And that's what happened to Syracuse. They kept it close. Then the last 8 minutes, when Syracuse wanted to go on a run, they counteracted that run. They hit their first 2 threes to keep Syracuse at bay after they got it to within 7. And the Syracuse just couldn't keep up after that. It just goes to show that they were the more talented team.
So the championship game was set for Monday night, and it was Villanova against North Carolina. I think a lot of people had the first half. A lot of people had North Carolina. Not very many people had Villanova. Actually, only in ESPN, only 2.6% of people picked Villanova to win it all. And they did. Villanova pulls it off. One of the best games ever. First time NCAA championship had come down to buzzer beater since 1983. And you think about that game. I wasn't alive for the 83 game, so I'm not even going to talk about it. But man, what an ending to the game, because North Carolina down 10, they make a run. You thought maybe they could bring it back, and then they had the ball with about 14 seconds left trying to complete the comeback.
Page launching a deep three. It rolls home. Page's prayer is answered from 30 feet. He rains it home. 4.7 seconds to go. Marcus Page ties the title game at 74.
So that was 4.7 seconds to go, tying it up. And at that point, you're like, in overtime, North Carolina can't lose. After they make that shot, even Marcus Page said it. He said, if we defend for 5 seconds, we're going to win this game for sure.
And you got to give credit to Villanova and that final play they set up. Ryan Arcidiacono And if you looked at the play, it was set up beautifully. It's drawn up, and there were two people potentially open. And his name escapes me. Chris Jenkins, sorry. Wide open for three, and everyone knew, or a lot of people called it.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds ago, Villanova had to go the length of the court. They ran a play called Nova. Fitting name, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Ran a play called Nova to get Chris Jenkins a pretty good look. A look that you practice a lot of times, and they said they practice that play almost every practice.
With 3 seconds, Ryan Arcidiacono flips to Jenkins, 3 for the win. It's good! It's good! Jenkins hits the 3 to win the national championship for the first time in 31 years. You can call the Cats champions on the Jenkins 3 at the buzzer.
You got to give a lot of credit. One of the most confident guys in the arena, the guy that shot off all the confetti.
Oh, yeah.
Because he shot it off. He didn't even wait for the review. Because if that wouldn't have counted, they would have taken forever to clean all that up.
There would have been a delay.
Yeah, and shot off the confetti, and Villanova was able to celebrate. And credit to Arcidiacono for dumping that ball off to Jenkins.
It made me think of the Kansas-Memphis national championship almost, except the 3, instead of sending it to overtime, won the game for them. That was clutch. And I will remember that Kansas-Memphis game because I was a big Memphis fan because I was a John Calipari fan. Now I'm going to remember this one. I wasn't even a fan of either team in the game. That was unbelievable.
And that's the credit to these teams, that people that don't even care one way or the other, towards the end of the game, they were cheering for one team. You know, a lot of times you just watch a game, you're like, I'm just going to watch it. But these teams fought, and they worked so hard that you had to pick someone. You had to cheer for one of them by the end of the game.
And I think the coolest thing was Jay Wright. When the 3 was hit, it's like he didn't even care. It's like a preseason game, like, great, we just hit a 3 at the buzzer. I thought he showed a lot of respect to Coach Williams as well, because he knew how much that meant to him.
Yeah, something that is interesting to note, though, the game was on TBS for the first time.
Yep.
I know that you hated that.
Yes.
And if we look at the stats, viewership from last year's championship game down 7 million. Is that something that NCAA is going to look into, be like, hey, maybe we should put it on CBS?
Well, here's the thing. More people are not paying for cable channels because they got like Netflix and Hulu, and that's how they get their shows. So they're going to only have those simple channels of 2, 4, 5, 11, and 30. So,
if you're in this area.
Yeah, if you're in St. Louis area. And so you're going to get more viewers. And CBS is the main channel. I know they're all affiliated with each other, but I think you have to keep it on CBS to get those people that don't pay for cable.
So we'll see if they switch back to CBS next year. But I think something cool that they did on TNT and True TV, they had Homer broadcast. So like Villanova, announcers that were cheering for Villanova openly. And it's funny to see on Twitter people not knowing that's what they were watching. They're like, they're not even talking about North Carolina. People are like, switch to TBS. But yeah, so Villanova wins the championship. And let's just talk about next season already. You know, they talk about too early, top 25s. But no, it's not too early. It's the right time. Because there's no more college basketball, so you got to talk about it.
You got to keep it going.
Yeah, who cares about college football? We can wait on that. Wait till the NBA's over, then we'll care about college football, okay? But let's talk about top 5 for next season. We'll start with number 5, Jake. But who do you think these teams, I'm saying they're the preseason top 5 teams, but that doesn't mean I think they're the top 5 teams at the end of the year. But who do you have number 5 in your ranking?
My number 5 is probably going to surprise a lot of people. It's Louisville.
I don't think that's a surprise.
Well, I mean, Louisville, they lost Damon Lee and Trey Lewis. They're 2 top scorers, both guards. They're under investigation. Will that postseason ban be enough for the NCAA? You might get even more sanctions. Another question is, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong.
Go for it.
Chinanu Unakwu.
Big fella.
Yeah, he's a big guy for Louisville. Is he going to go pro? If he stays, this is why Louisville is going to stay in the top 5, because he's averages 10 points a game, 8.5 rebounds per game, but he's a monster on the offensive glass. He had 91 offensive rebounds and 172 defensive rebounds, but he also averages 2 blocks per game. So I think he's the key. They bring back Quentin Snyder, 40% 3-point shooter. Their recruiting class was actually relatively small, probably because of the sanctions. They only bring back, they bring in VJ King, a 4-star wing player, but I just can't count out Rick Pitino as a head coach.
Yeah, I think the you mentioned a little bit, the huge question mark with Louisville is how much are they going to get punished by the NCAA? Is it just scholarships that are taken away, or is it going to be you're banned from the postseason? Obviously, you can still be ranked, but I think people that vote for the rankings are going to be like, should we give them a ranking in the top 5 if they can't even play in the postseason? And I think that's going to be the big question. I think Louisville's a good team. I don't know if they're a top 5 team at the beginning of the year. Who do you got number 4?
Number 4, I'm going with Kansas. And, yeah.
I don't like it.
This relies on one thing, which will come at the end. But obviously you lose Perry Ellis, who's been there all 4 years. He's your guy. And you lose Jamari Traylor as well.
And Wayne Selden and Brandon Green.
Goes to the draft. I think the key, though, is their backcourt of Devontae Graham and Frank Mason III, both double-digit average scorers. They're going to have a very experienced backcourt. Yeah,
that's one of the best backcourts in the not only the conference but in the country, especially experience-wise, junior and a senior.
Yeah, and I think Sheik Diallo coming back matters a little bit.
If he comes back.
If he comes back. He didn't contribute a lot, but I think under Bill Self he might improve, and that's really what everyone hopes for. They bring in 2 players, another name I can't pronounce, Udoka Azubuike, number 4 5-star center.
Big fella.
Yeah. All these big guys. And then Mitch Lightfoot, a 4-star power forward. But the key here is Kansas is reported as the favorite to get Josh Jackson, the best recruit in the country. If he signs there, they're easy top 5. But if they don't, then it's kind of questioning it. But Josh Jackson would bring a lot of size, a lot of athleticism to go along with those guards. They'd be a scary team.
Yeah, and Kansas most likely will win their 13th straight Big 12 championship. I don't think anyone else can really compete with them. Maybe West Virginia, but that's a question mark.
The only other team that really could compete is Texas, and I don't put them against Kansas at all.
Yeah. Guys, we just want to quickly let you know, regardless of efforts to provide a safe campus, there's no guarantee that a person will not become the victim of a crime while on campus. The possibility does exist and is always present. Crime prevention on campus is not just the responsibility of the Webster University Department of Public Safety. It is a shared responsibility between the individual and the Department of Public Safety. Students, faculty, and staff must accept responsibility for helping to maintain a safe environment. Be prepared. Save Public Safety's emergency contact number in your phone now. It is 314-968-6911. Again, that's 314-968-6911. This has been a public service announcement from Webster's Galaxy Radio, your station, your voice. Jacob, you had number 5 Louisville. Number 4, you had Kansas. Who do you got number 3 in the country for the 2016-2017 college basketball season?
How can you go against Tom Izzo? I mean, you lose Denzel Valentine, also known as Denzel Washington, apparently, and Matt Costello, who your senior, your leader. But they do bring
and Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, but they bring back Eron Harris.
Eron,
excuse me.
It just spelled like Eron.
Yeah, but I think another key is Deontay Davis, a freshman, had a relatively decent season. It was 7.5 points per game, but 5.5 rebounds per game. And you hope for that to improve.
There is talk that he might actually enter the draft, but I think it'd be wise for him to stay.
Yeah. I think they would convince him to stay. But they also have a killer recruiting class coming in. You got Miles Bridges, the number 3 small forward according to ESPN. You have Josh Langford, the number 5 shooting guard, 2 guard, another 5-star.
Both 5 stars.
Yeah, and then you have Cassius Winston, top 5 point guard, 4-star. And Nick Ward, the number 6 center, according to ESPN.
He's a 4-star as well. This is the best recruiting class in Tom Izzo's career.
They are having a great recruiting season. I think that's going to matter because you have to replace Denzel Valentine. You got to find that scoring. And I think Miles Bridges can fill that role.
And I don't know. They lose a lot of key players, so it's tough to say like that loss to Middle Tennessee State is going to motivate them. But I think it motivates Tom Izzo. I mean, I'll just say it is an embarrassing loss to lose to Middle Tennessee State. Like, we were at that game, and Michigan State was out of it the whole game. They didn't lead the entire way. And so I think that's something that motivates the guys that are returning, and it motivates the new guys to say, hey, let's not make this happen again.
Oh, yeah, and I think it will resonate. I think it's billboard material for Tom Izzo. I think he knows how to use that correctly.
They should buy Middle Tennessee State practice gear and practice in that. That would be pretty funny.
Or just don't get behind 15-2 to start a game.
Yeah, that was a quick start for Middle Tennessee State. So that was Michigan State. You have number 3. Who do you got number 2 in the next college basketball season?
Number 2 is how can you go against Kentucky? Kentucky, obviously, you lose Scala BCA most likely. He's gone.
Yeah,
You're going to lose Jamal Murray. He's gone. The real question is Tyler Eulis staying or going? That is the biggest question for this Kentucky team. But really, it doesn't matter, it feels like. They lose Alex Poitras, your senior leader. I think Isaiah Briscoe is going to come back. He was the number 1 point guard in last year's recruiting class. I think Marcus Lee would come back. Charles Matthews had a relatively weak season this past season. He was a 4-star shooting guard recruit. And then Isaac Humphreys was the number 6 or number 9 center in last year's recruiting class. I think he should say he hardly played at all.
Yeah.
But then it's who they bring in that's even crazier.
Yeah, 4 McDonald's All-Americans.
It's unbelievable. Bam Adebayo.
Great name.
Yeah, Bam. He
You like that first name. Easy to pronounce.
yeah. He the number 2 power forward in the class, 5 stars. He is crazy athletic. This guy could jump out of a building. They compared him to some of the more athletic verticals in the NBA. He outjumps them. This guy is crazy athletic. De'Aaron Fox, the number 2 point guard in the class, another 5-star recruit.
And he is the number 2 point guard in the class, but a lot of analysts think he's the best point guard in the country, period. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And so that's someone that is going to have a lot of pressure on him, but if he can live up to that, you know Calipari's great with point guards. Derrick Rose, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Knight, Tyler Eulis. He's going to be okay.
Yeah, he picked the right place to go. And he's going to be teaming up with the best 2 guard in the country, according to ESPN, Malik Monk. And then Wenyen Gabriel, the number 4 power forward in the recruiting class, another 5-star recruit who measures in at 6'10". And then they bring in another 6'11" power forward, only 4 stars. Saka Kilyab Jones.
Here's the thing: all of those guys are in the top 26 in the country, and they're
Yeah.
all on one team.
And it's going to be another one of those slow starts where they're going to start out weak, but then somehow they're going to make the tournament, and that's when they click. As soon as they make the tournament, they're going to become the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, and that's the thing with preseason rankings. They talent-wise, they're the number 2 team in the country, but at the beginning of the year, they're not going to play like that. They're going to struggle. They're going to lose games. Everyone's going to get, oh, no, they're bad. But then they'll make it to the tournament as a 1 seed, as a 2 seed, and they'll make a run.
I think the one thing that's different about this team, though, is that a lot of guys, if they stay, would be coming back that are super talented. Like I said, Isaiah Briscoe, he could be a leader. This would be his second year. Marcus Lee, he's been here a while. Charles Matthews, he'd be a leader. And Isaac Humphreys, I mean, he didn't get a lot of playing time, but he's still been in the program.
Hey, if you can have 4 sophomores on one team at Kentucky, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's all freshmen. Do you think they'll go 5 freshmen starting lineup again just for fun?
No, I think out of the guys that are returning, I think Briscoe would start.
Yeah.
But the thing about Briscoe, though, is he's a little bigger to be a point guard. I think they could move him to 2, keep Bam at power forward, bring De'Aaron Fox as point guard, and probably put Malik Monk as the 3.
The thing is, they're going to have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And the SEC, not going to be that strong again. 2, maybe 3 teams make it to the tournament. LSU is going to be down, and they were supposed to be good this year. So Kentucky's going to win the conference. And the thing is, we'll see how good they can be once they get to the NCAA tournament. Who do you got as your number 1 team?
I think everyone's got this team as number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State really is.
No. Iowa State, I don't even give a chance at the Big 12, let alone being top 25.
Oh, man. I think they'll be top 25. Go ahead. Who do you got number 1?
Duke, man.
Yeah.
You got Harry Giles. I know he's coming off an ACL injury, but I think he should be healed by time. And St. Louis's own Jason Tatum. You get the 2 best recruits in the country coming there.
And the 2 best prospects, too. Not just the best high school players. These guys are going to be legit NBA players.
Well, I think Josh Jackson fights them as being that pro prospect. I think he measures out well. But then you bring, apparently Grayson Allen's coming back. You told me that this
just
morning.
announced today.
Emil Jefferson, you're going to get him back off injury if he doesn't go pro.
He'll be back.
You get another recruit that no one seems to be talking about, Frank Jackson, the number 3 2-guard in the country.
Number 11 recruit, period. And that's the guy. That's pretty impressive for Duke. They don't usually get like number 1, number 2 guys, and now they're number 11 guy in the country that no one's talking about it.
Exactly.
Quite a change for Duke.
The only thing I worry about with Duke is they're not going to have a Plumlee this year. Plus, they're not going to have much size, so they're going to rely on Chase Jeter, who didn't get a lot of playing time last season.
And Jefferson's going to be their starting center. But yeah, last year, Chase Jeter. It's weird to say last year already.
Yeah.
The season's over. But Chase Jeter, a guy, McDonald's All-American, can't even make the rotation at Duke. But that's not because he's bad.
But
I think he just needed time.
It worries me, though, because you have 6 or 7 players, and you're not going to play this guy. You might have to force it eventually, so that makes me worrisome if he's ever going to be ready, if he can play at that level.
Yeah. Speaking of playing at a level, we got a cool event coming up next week. It is next Monday night. Take it away, Jacob.
So there is an event that's going to be held in the Grand Gymnasium. It's a dodgeball tournament being hosted by the Webster Love Your Melon crew, the Gorlock Fitness crew, or group, whatever they'd like to be called, and RHA. It's I don't have the time with me, but if you want to figure out the information, go onto Facebook and find the Beanies and Sweatbands dodgeball tournament and talk. You can either join the group, talk to Lauren Schertz. She's the one that got in contact with me about it, so it should be fun.
Is it a fundraiser?
It is a fundraiser. There will be food. I know that's what everyone cares about. And the winner of the dodgeball tournament, apparently there's going to be a prize. So go online, find the Facebook page. It'll send you to a link to where you sign up, and it's next Monday.
Absolutely. Check that out. Hey, can we talk about my top 5?
Of course. It's wrong, but of course.
Well, it's got some of the same teams as you. So hey, but we want you guys to go to Facebook. Find us at look us up. Here's the thing. Let us know what you think about our top 5. Let us know your top 5. Let us know your friends' top 5. Whatever you want to do. Go to our Facebook page. Just look. Here's the thing. We're pretty good at responding on there, aren't we, Jacob?
Oh yeah, we are instantly. We'll get it on during the show.
We'll respond on there. So hey, my number 5 team is Michigan State. Talked about it. They lose Valentine, Forbes, and Costello, but the best recruiting class for Tom Izzo. I think can't count out Tom Izzo. He's going to be motivated to get back to the Final Four after that loss to Middle Tennessee State. Is that okay? Number 5, Michigan State.
Yeah,
fine with that?
I think losing Valentine and Costello is a big deal.
Yeah.
So if they don't even make the top 5, I don't think I'll argue that. I think they should, though.
Yeah. My number 4 is a team that made the championship game, is North Carolina. At first you think about it, you're like, wow, they lose Marcus Page, they lose Bryce Johnson. Yeah, that's gonna be a big loss. But they still have an experienced backcourt in Nate Britt and Joel Berry. They got experienced post players in Isaiah Hicks and Kennedy Meeks, and you got experienced wing players in Theo Pinson and Jackson. Plus, you had 3 4-star recruits in Seventh Woods and Brandon Robinson, 2 good guards, and then a center in Tony Bradley. They lose Page and Johnson. Yeah, that's going to be tough for them. But I just named 6 players that are experienced and are already in the rotation. Plus, you had 3 4-star recruits.
Kennedy Meeks is dipping his toe in the NBA draft waters,
Yeah.
but I don't think he'll go. I think he needs to polish his game up more in college.
Yeah, and he would be like the main option because Bryce Johnson is gone. So you give the ball to Kenny Meeks on the block almost every possession, I think.
Yeah,
So
and he needs to improve his conditioning, obviously.
yeah, so I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to go through some growing pains just because they've been so used to playing with Page and Johnson the last 4 years. But I think this team can really do some damage. Especially we saw Joel Berry in the first half of that game score 15 points.
I think Joel Berry is a key for this team next year.
Yeah, he scored 15 points in the first half. It was Marcus Page in the second half. But in the first half, Joel Berry got them out to the 9-point lead, not Marcus Page. So I think that's someone that can really step up their production next year. My number 3 team, also in the championship game, is Villanova. Again, they lose 2 main seniors. Their point guard and their big man, Arcidiacono and Chefu, are both gone. But they add a top 20 recruit, Omari Spellman, 6'9", power forward, can shoot the 3, good good offensive threat. But the thing is, they keep a lot of guys. They keep Hart, Brunson, Booth, Bridges, and Jenkins. Jenkins hit the game winner, and Booth scored 20 points, career high. So they got some guys coming back that were key, but they can step up their role even more.
Yeah, and you mentioned him. Hart has already been talked about as a Player of the Year candidate. The guy averaged 15.5 points per game and almost 7 rebounds per game. I think in the Big East Conference, that's pretty good numbers you're putting up.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent coming back. And Jay Wright, he's a good coach. He's overlooked a lot, but he's a good coach. And Mikal Bridges, he comes off the bench, a big man for them. A lot of people say he's their best pro prospect. So I think Bridges is someone that in a bigger role can do a lot more. So I think Villanova is going to be good again. I don't know if they can win it all again, but they'll be ranked in the top 5 at the beginning of the season. Just because they won the championship, I think that you get some credit for that. You should get more votes because you won the national championship. My number 2 team is Kentucky. We talked about it. They have 5 top 26 recruits and John Calipari. That's enough to be number 2 in the country.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if they got the number 1 overall pick, or number 1 overall ranking, just depending on who comes back. If more players come back than everyone thinks, they're better than Duke.
Yeah. And Duke is my number 1 team, just like you. Harry Giles, Jason Tatum, Frank Jackson, Grayson Allen, and Emil Jefferson. Those are 5 really good players.
Yeah.
Plus you have guys like Derek Thornton and Chase Jeter coming back. So I think Duke's going to be a really good team. And Coach Krzyzewski. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Coach K.
Yeah. Speaking of college basketball, the winner of the women's tournament, can you guys guess? Can you guess who won? It was UConn. They win at 82-51. They won by 31. Here's the impressive part. Syracuse went on a 16-0 run in the second half and still lost by 31.
They outscored them in the third quarter.
Yeah. And UConn wins their 4th straight. Gino Auriemma's 11th championship, passing John Wooden for the most all time. So congrats to UConn. Whether you think they're ruining women's basketball or not, he has 11 championships and 4 straight. They've won hundreds of games to 1 loss.
I don't think they're ruining the game of basketball. I think Gino Auriemma is saying, here's the level we need to be playing at to get recognition as women basketball players, and this is where you're playing. So you need to get up there.
Gino Auriemma has 2 years left on his contract. He has talked in the past that he wants to be an NBA coach. So there is talk. He's got 2 years left of him being a high-level NBA assistant. I think that's something. I think that'd be cool, just to see if he can do it at another level. Because UConn women, they're going to win from here to the end of time. Because when you win, you get the best recruits, and they win every game.
Well, there's a difference between saying when you win, you get the best recruits. I mean, Duke and Kentucky, they win, but they don't get every recruit like UConn is getting, and it's unbelievable how unfair it is. But, I mean...
You can't regulate it.
No.
It's recruiting. Players can pick where they want to go.
Yeah, and every once in a while, Baylor gets a Brittany Griner, who is a dominant women's basketball player. But, if you don't like it, beat us. That's all I say to it.
Yeah, so I will be interested to see if Gino Auriemma tries to coach a men's team or if he goes to the NBA to be an assistant coach at first, moves his way up. We'll see. So congrats to UConn for winning that one. Some local news, SLU hiring the former Oklahoma State basketball coach Travis Ford. Travis played for SLU, I'm pretty sure.
He's from the St. Louis area.
So I think that's a good hiring because it's a local guy, but also he's a good basketball coach and a good recruiter, getting Marcus Smart and LeBron Nash to want to play college basketball in Oklahoma. I think St. Louis is a bit more appealing than Oklahoma.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of SLU fans weren't happy about this pick. You're not going to get a Rick Majerus who's going to stay there. I know we talked about that on the last show, but he knows the St. Louis area really well. He's got a lot of relationships, and the deal with recruiting is you want to build relationships, and he's got that. So you're going to be getting recruits in, and I know a few players have already said they're going to transfer out because of the coaching change, but I think it's unfair to say this, but you have to hold yourself to the same standard as a Villanova. Villanova is a lower level school in a bigger conference, obviously, but they're the Jesuit program that believes in the faith that in their recruits. It's kind of like Notre Dame and academics. It's like religion and players. You have to have the same. They have to believe in both. And I mean, for Villanova won the national championship on this standard, and I think to think that SLU's going to win a national championship is crazy. But to think that yes, you can win the A10, yes, you can go to the NCAA tournament, yes, you can get out of the first round. I think that is reasonable, and I think Travis Ford, he can bring in players that will get them there.
Yeah, and the A10 is a good basketball conference. It's a by definition mid-major, but it puts out good teams every year. Xavier and VCU. So there's some good teams that you have to start competing with. And SLU has shown in the past when they were in different conferences, they got the 5 seed a couple years ago. So they can compete and they can win. And I think that's something that they need to I think Travis Ford can get them back on the right area, going in the right direction. It's going to take some time, especially in that first year when you can't get your own recruits in there. But give him a couple years, and he'll get it turned around.
And St. Louis is turning into a basketball recruiting hotbed. You want to try and keep the players in Missouri.
Yeah.
You're not going to keep Jason Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
He said he looked at SLU because his dad went to SLU, but you knew he wasn't going to go to SLU. But maybe like the Jerry Hughes of SLU, the former NBA player, that's someone you can compare him to. Yeah, he wasn't great in the NBA, but he put up decent seasons.
Here's a question. Who's going to make the NCAA tournament first, Mizzou or SLU?
SLU.
Really?
Mizzou is in a time period where
they're in a world of hurt.
Yeah, they may win 10 games next year. That's about it. Kim Anderson, this is the last chance for Kim Anderson. If he doesn't have a good season this year, then your job's on the line. You're losing all your players. For some reason, every single year they want to transfer out. I can understand once you change coaches, but this is your second year, and they're still transferring out. There's a problem there. I know it may be because he sounds like Kermit the Frog. I don't know. But SLU is in a better place right now than Mizzou is because SLU actually has established players wanting to play for the program.
And I think it's weird to say the A10 is a better basketball conference than the SEC. Because the SEC, you got Kentucky, you got Texas A&M, Florida kind of. That's about it. But Kentucky really is the only team that you think that team can win a national championship. Yeah. A10 doesn't have anybody that can win a national championship. Maybe Xavier, but A10 top to bottom I think is more competitive than the SEC.
And Texas A&M was only good this year. And then Florida has been trying to recover after losing Billy Donovan. South Carolina was okay this year. But after that, it's like you can say LSU because they had Shaq way back when and they had Ben Simmons now, but that time in between, they were garbage.
And they didn't even make the tournament this year.
They didn't even make the tournament this year. So, yeah, I think you're right. Top to bottom, the A10 is better than the SEC, but everyone's going to be like, oh, well, the SEC has Kentucky who could beat everyone in the A10. Well, yeah, but that's Kentucky, and they get everyone.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thought. Who's going to make the tournament first, Mizzou or SLU? Let us know on Facebook. You know what you should also do? You should listen to other shows on the Galaxy Radio.
Going back to the 80s.
It's a great pair of legs.
You're in tune to All 80s Rewind. On your station, your voice, the Galaxy Radio.
You guys should listen to All 80s Rewind. You should really listen to a lot of shows. That show is on Tuesdays. So check that out. You can find the schedule on thegalaxyradio.com. There's lots of good shows. Also, if you want to listen to the Galaxy, you can listen on your phone if you download the TuneIn app and Google the Galaxy Radio. Also on the Buzz app. Just look up Webster Buzz. I think that's what it's called. The Buzz app. List articles from USA Today, from the Webster Journal, and you can listen to the Galaxy. You can listen on your computer, thegalaxyradio.com. We'd just like to thank you all for listening to us. Hey, we had listeners in Geneva. That's across the ocean, Jacob.
Shout out. I know people in Geneva.
Yeah, so we'd like to thank all our listeners from around the world and around the United States. One more quick note about college basketball. A guy named Thon Maker is declaring for the NBA draft. It's kind of an unprecedented move. This guy from South Sudan played high school ball in the United States, first in New Orleans, then other places, now in Canada. Graduated from high school. Could have gone to college. Instead went to a year of prep school so he could play with his brother. So by rule, he meets the requirements of being 19 and 1 year removed from high school. But we'll see if the NBA says that year of prep school was still high school. So it could be a thing that changes high school players' decisions. Instead of going to college, they might go to prep school instead. What do you think? Is he going to be eligible for the draft?
I would hope they say no, because I feel like if you're going to try and base a lot of these players off of them in prep school compared to college ball, you're going to have a lot more busts in the draft compared to the crazy number you have already. And you said yourself, this could change the recruiting game because they're going to do that 1 year prep school instead of going to college. And it's kind of like the going overseas and playing ball for 1 year.
Like Emmanuel Mudiay did, who's now in the Nuggets.
Exactly. Now, Emmanuel Mudiay is
and Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, they're successful. They're somewhat successful so far, but you can't get that read on them like you can in college basketball. And Thon Maker, I mean, in college, he'd be a little undersized, like not height wise. Obviously, he's 7'1", but like strength wise, I think that's where the difference in college ball and prep school comes into play. I watched tape on him. First of all, his brother played better than he did. But he's got some crazy handles. He's got a mid-range game. He can shoot the three. But I feel like in prep school, the reason he's so successful is because he's so much taller than everybody else. All of his plays are offensive rebounds turned into dunks or alley-oops or like easy layups because he can jump over the guy defending him. I think in college ball you wouldn't see that, and he'd have to develop skills past his height.
I'm thinking about Thon Maker, and I'm not saying basketball-wise, but I think of a guy like Skal Labissiere and Sheik Diallo, guys that go to college, don't play well, and they need to go to the draft so they don't get exposed. Guy like Diallo and Labissiere, if they come back to college another year, they might not be first-round draft picks. And I think Thon Maker might be thinking that too. He's like, I got to get to the draft now, whereas I could get drafted on potential, maybe a later lottery pick, definitely a first-round pick, I think, for Maker. But if he goes to college, I think he might fall to a second-round pick. So this is a decision for him. I got to get mine now because I might not get it otherwise.
Well, Labissiere is different. Labissiere started out horribly at Kentucky.
Yes.
But at the end of the year, he started showing, hey, this guy's a defensive menace and can block anything that has a pulse. And his offensive game was starting to come around a little bit. He showed his potential. I think if he came back another year, he'd improve actually, but the NBA wants to draft the youngest players humanly possible. If they could draft 12-year-olds, they probably would. But I think when it comes to Thon Maker, you're right. This is his time because I think if he went to college ball, he'd be a year older. Some things would be exposed, but that's not to say that they still won't say this guy's a potential guy.
Yeah, so we'll see if the NBA lets him stay in the draft. Apparently, the NBA, he wanted to know, hey, can I enter the draft? And the NBA wouldn't rule on it until he actually declared. So that's part of the reason he declared, so he can get a ruling is, hey, can I actually be drafted this year? But that's a guy that it'll be interesting in the draft to see if he gets late lottery, late first round. I think he's a only on potential guy. He's going to be in the D League for a couple years.
Oh yeah,
and that's the thing. College basketball, I think, is better basketball than the D League. So I think he can get a lot better in college basketball. But I think part of the reason if he goes to the D League, then they can call him up, go through training camp, get an NBA weightlifting program. I think that'd be good for him.
This has potential to worsen the NBA product, but make the college basketball product better because you're eliminating those first 1 year guys that are like, I'm going to go to college 1 year, leave. So Kentucky's obviously not going to have a team if this Thon Maker thing goes through because everyone's going to go to prep school for a year and then go pro.
Or even go overseas and get paid for a year.
Exactly. But that means more players are going to stay for 4 years or 2 or 3, and they're going to get better as they're there, which means the college product is going to be good. But then you're going to be in the NBA and you're going to see all these guys that never played college ball that are struggling, or they're going to be giant busts, and people are going to get frustrated. I think Adam Silver has a decision to make, and it could change the game of basketball completely.
Guys, we want to invite you to an awesome campus event. It's called Night at the Museum. Okay? It's not a movie. We're not watching a movie. Instead, we are going to City Museum. Have you ever been to City Museum, Jacob?
Yes, I have.
It was so much fun. The trip is on April 22nd. It is from 6 to 10 p.m. Tickets are free, but you have to deposit $5, but you'll get it back when you check in at the event. So you can't just sign up and then not show up and get your money back. You got to sign up. You get your money back. The bus leaves at 6 o'clock from the UC parking lot, and you have to ride the bus, okay? So you have to sign up by April 20th, and it is on April 22nd. We're going to the St. Louis City Museum. Jacob, I think we should go.
You've been to the city?
I've been to the City Museum.
Why would you want to go?
I just promoted an event. You can't say it's not fun.
I,
Come on, man.
Well, I'm at a radio show host, so I'm supposed to give my opinion.
Oh, my gosh. You
And-
have to be true to Webster University. City Museum, sign up. We're just going to move on because I don't want to talk to you about it. It's going to be fun. It's free, man. City Museum's like $20. It's free. And it's at night.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of little kids there. And
Not at 6 to 10 p.m. They're going to be in bed.
No, they're not.
It is a Friday. Never mind.
I've been there when all those crazy little critters are running around.
You're bigger than them. Run over them.
That's not nice.
Guys, there was an upset in the NBA last night, in case you didn't know.
The Warriors won't foul, and the Minnesota Timberwolves have come here, and they spoiled the 70 party. The Warriors were hoping to become the second team in NBA history to get to 70 wins, but they won't get it tonight. The final in overtime. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Golden State Warriors 124 to 117.
What? That's my reaction because the Warriors were up by 17, and in their last 120 games or something, when they have a 15-point lead, they're 120-something and 0, and they lose to a lottery team at home.
Timberwolves. Yeah, my prediction at the beginning of the season is starting to look good. If it was still the beginning of the season.
So the Warriors fall to 69 and 9. In order to beat the record, they have to beat the Spurs twice, once at home, once on the road, and the Memphis Grizzlies, once at home, once on the road.
So one's actually attainable. The other one might not be.
So do you think the Warriors get it?
See,
I think it's good if they don't. Like, it'd be awesome for them to beat the record, but I think basketball-wise, they need to rest guys. So if they lose one of these first few games, they can rest guys because right now they're just worn down. They have not been playing good basketball, and they just need a mental break from the record.
and Steve Kerr has said that he doesn't have the cojones like Greg Popovich does to sit all of his starters. But I think with San Antonio most likely going to sit most of their starters coming down the stretch, I think it is a possibility. Now, you have to go undefeated to break the record, but you can lose one game and still tie the record, which I still think is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even if you don't get the record and you go 69 and 13, you lost 13 games over an entire season. That's incredible. So to say, hey, we have to beat the record to have an amazing season, that's not true. They could lose the rest of their games, and they still have one of the best seasons in NBA history. And I think that's something they need to realize because their goal is to win a championship, not to beat the record. And I think something that's they've lost sight of that here in the last few weeks and haven't been playing good basketball.
And here's the thing. If you fight for that record and you miss it, you miss the record, but because you fought so hard in the regular season that you're out in the first or second round in the playoffs, no one's going to remember this at all. Sure, if you break the record or tie the record, they're going to remember you that way. But would you rather be remembered for a record or winning another NBA championship?
Yeah.
The NBA championship is what you want.
Absolutely. And Curry himself has said, hey, we need to be better before we go on to play in the postseason.
Down the stretch leading into the playoffs, this is where you want to get right and get, sharpen up the details of what we do. And regardless for us, I think how much, focus it's taken to get to this point. I think we have a lot left in the tank to finish it out these last 4 games and then these last 2.5 months leading into, the goal of winning a championship. So,
And I think he's telling the truth.
Yeah, and Draymond Green's quotes kind of scared me almost. If you've read this one, Draymond Green saying the Warriors are, quote, bored, close quote, and, quote, ready for the regular season to be over, close quote.
And I think that's fair. Like, they've been playing, I want to say meaningless basketball, but they've been playing basketball since the beginning of October with preseason. And really what matters is the last 2 months of the season. Because if you make the playoffs, that's the goal. And they clinched a playoff spot like 6 weeks ago.
And if you're already checking out now, it's going to be super hard for you to get them engines up for playoff time. And I think that's scary. I don't think you can just completely check out like he wants to, like he says the Warriors are ready to do. I think you still need to stay focused a little bit, which is why I was always an advocate of, rest them like 3 games before the end of the season, but let them play the last 2 so their focus isn't changed. But this is just, I don't think they're going to make it to the finals at this rate.
Steve Kerr still believes in his team, though.
Good news is I think we're perfectly capable of getting locked in and playing much better, and we should, because our eyes should be a little more open to the danger and the possibility that's out there when you mess around with the game and you don't play the way you should. This team is too good to play that way.
Here's something interesting. The Warriors having this amazing season. The Spurs can still get the number 1 seed. That's something that's just crazy to think about. The Spurs can still have the best record in the NBA this season, despite how good the Warriors have been this season, and the Warriors have to play the Spurs twice.
Hey, if the Spurs want to play their starters, I give them the nod to getting the best record in the West. They are the better team, I feel like. In a 7-game series, I think I would put my money on San Antonio. I picked San Antonio at the beginning of the year to win it all. So I'm all for San Antonio going for first place. I know you don't like the Golden State Warriors very much.
Correct. I would say I'm fine with anybody winning the championship except for the Warriors or the Clippers. Anybody else.
Go Celtics.
Hey, they beat the Warriors. Here's something funny. Someone tweeted, the key to beating the Warriors in a 7-game series, be 4 different lottery teams. Because 4 different lottery teams have now beaten the Warriors. And at home. The Warriors lost to the Timberwolves at home. That's even the more crazy part. And they will not be undefeated at home. They lost to the Celtics and then lost to the Timberwolves. But the playoffs start next Saturday. Is Saturday the 17th? I don't know.
The Saturday is the 9th.
No, next Saturday. So the 16th. Yeah, so playoffs start on the 16th. Next week's show, we'll have predictions on who we think's going to win some series, who we think's going to win some awards. We did predictions at the beginning of the year. Obviously, some of them were bad, like the Timberwolves going to make the playoffs.
Oh, excuse you.
I was going to say, or the Bucks going to win 50 games. That came up short by about 20 or 30. So, yeah, we'll have those for you next week. Also, next week we'll talk some baseball. But, we'll talk some baseball right now. Here's Jacob with his baseball analysis in 4 words. Cards suck, Cubs rule. Take it away, Jacob.
Okay, so obviously at the beginning of the season I picked the Cubs to win the division, but I didn't think it was going to be this easy. Now, I'm not going to be that guy that's going to hop on the Cubs bandwagon immediately. As Tony La Russa famously said in 2011, let me remind you, the Cardinals won the World Series that year. It's the first week of the season. So, it's the first week of the season. I'm okay with
Cardinals haven't won a game all year.
Oh, stop. I was happy to see, like, last night's game, the bullpen was dominant. I didn't like what I saw to Michael Wacha, but, first start. I was okay with Adam Wainwright's start. It was cold. He couldn't get his breaking ball the way he wanted it to. But Seth Maness blew it. I called that.
You don't like that guy at all.
I don't like Seth Maness much. I didn't like that lefty. I can't remember his name. He was just here last year.
I must not have put an impression on you.
Yeah, he put an impression of losing games, but the offense has been struggling. You've struck out 27 times in 2 games. So someone's got to be held accountable. And Matheny's going to protect his guy, John Mabry, from criticism, but you need to look somewhere. You shouldn't be striking out this often. You had, before the last at-bat, Holiday was 0 for 4. Molina was 0 for 3. Whoever was batting behind Holiday was 0 for 4. I can't remember who that. It might have been. No, Piscotty had a good game last night. Can't remember who batted after Holiday. But you had 3 consecutive guys that were going 0 for. And you're still batting Yadier Molina in the 5th hole. The guy hit into another double play, shocker. Why are you batting him 5th? This is a guy that should be batting 6th or 7th. Just because he's your guy doesn't mean you have to respect him that high in the batting lineup. He knows his job. He's going to command the pitching staff. He's going to be your Gold Glove catcher. Where he bats in the lineup does not matter.
And you think about a guy, he's coming off thumb surgery. You got to give him some time. Right now, he's not going to have the ability to get the ball where he wants to on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I was happy to see they called up Aledmus Diaz because Jed Jerko is not an everyday shortstop. He does not have the arm. He does not have the glove. He does not have the range. Colton Wong cannot put a professional at bat against a left-hander at all. The guy looked pitiful game 1. Game 2, he got a hit off a lefty, but then the 9th inning bunt Hazel Baker over to third, and you pop it up. That's something they teach you in grade school. I'm frustrated with how this offense is working. I'm happy with the bullpen. I'm okay with the pitching staff. But then you got the team up north, Chicago, who just dominated the LA Angels. You had Jake Arrieta make Mike Trout, the AL MVP, look stupid. The guy's nasty. They allowed 1 run in 2 games. This team is legit.
And offensively, they're putting up big numbers too.
Yeah, they hit 3 home runs yesterday. So
it's early. They've played 2-3 games, but definitely some things to be worried about, I think.
yeah, if the strikeout trend continues, I'm scared. Tommy Pham getting hurt is, if you look back, he missed the first month of the season last year for the same injury, this tightness in his quad. So if he comes back, I'm glad they caught it, but if it takes another month, that's an issue. Aledmus Diaz is going to get time up here. He's going to be your everyday shortstop. That's fine. Jed Jerko is already proving to be a guy that you brought him in for. You're off the bench, going to start at second base against left-handers. He's going to bring power. He did that last night, hitting a home run. Matt Holliday seems to be having a pretty decent start. He's making contact. It doesn't seem like he's hurting that bad. Steven Piscotty is looking great. But then it was Randall Grichuk that was hitting after Matt Holliday. Randall Grichuk was 2 for 7 1 for 7 with 5 strikeouts to start the season. The book on the guy's got crazy power. He's stronger than Matt Holliday, but the guy's going to strike out a lot. And someone's got to fix that. Obviously, this batting coach, John Mabry, is not helping, because if more players are striking out more, and this guy already had a strikeout problem, you need some help. And the strikeout thing is the biggest problem. The batting order is another issue. Molina needs to be kicked down. You got to figure out what you're going to do at first base. Is it going to be Moss? Is it going to be Adams? Because you're not going to put Matt Holliday because you don't have Tommy Pham anymore. So Matt Adams has been okay. I think Brandon Moss should be your everyday first baseman until Tommy Pham gets back. But really, I want to see the end of the rotation. I want to see how Jaime Garcia pitches. I want to see Mike Leake pitch. I think he's a stopper. I think he's a guy that if you pitch him 3rd or 4th in the rotation, he'll get you some wins. But Carlos Martinez is always nasty. I think he will be a dominant pitcher this year if he stays healthy. And again, first week of the season, I think it'll change by the end.
There's plenty of time. They still play 160 more games.
Yeah.
But another team that I picked to win the World Series, not just because it was an even year, but because their pitching rotation got a lot better. Madison Bumgarner, their first starter, the San Francisco Giants I'm talking about. Then Johnny Cueto, Jeff Samar just starting today. But it was their offense over the weekend that really got things going.
There they go. The pitch, swing, and a high drive deep to right. Way back there. And goodbye. Wow. Denard Span, in his first game as a Giant, hits his first home run as a Giant, and that breaks it open. The Giants have a 10-3 lead.
Giants up 10-3 over the Brewers. So coming to the plate next was Joe Panik. And
now the pitch. There's a shot to right field. High and deep and second deck. Goodbye. Joe Panik's first hit of the year is a tape measure home run to right field. He hit it even deeper than did Denard Span. 11-3 Giants.
You know what happened next?
And just when you thought it was done.
So here comes Buster Posey. Giants have really broken it open with a 4-run 8th inning hitting the long ball here in Milwaukee. Buster Posey swings and he drives one deep into center field. Way back there, on its way. Goodbye! The 3rd consecutive home run for the Giants.
And at the end of that sound, you heard boos. It was all on the same pitcher, too.
I will say that right after the Dodgers and the Cardinals radio broadcast, the Giants radio broadcast is probably one of the most entertaining broadcasts I've ever heard. And the Madison Bumgarner had a below-average start for his standards, but Johnny Cueto looked good. He looked nasty. Back in the National League, I think that's where he should be. That team looks scary if they get that offense all season.
Absolutely. Hey, we got just a few minutes left, Jacob. So we did it last week in our live show. Some Would You Rathers.
Bring it.
some quick sports would you rather's for Jacob. So we need like some music to back this.
You want me to sing?
No, because you have to answer the questions. Would you rather be a third-string QB for a bad NFL team or an MVP QB for an arena football team?
A bad QB or a third-string QB for a bad NFL team be making more money.
You'd rather be in the NFL?
I think backup quarterbacks make like $7 million a year or something.
Yeah, Chase
like that.
Daniel got $7 million a year. He started like 2 career games. Hey, would you rather return a punt in the NFL or have to be in the boxing rink with Mike Tyson for 90 seconds?
Boxing ring with Mike Tyson on, I just avoid him for 90 seconds.
In his prime. Mike Tyson's in his prime.
Okay, then no, I'd return a punt in the
And
NFL.
you have to return it. You can't call for a fair catch.
Well, do I have like a little bit of room to start, or are they like already on me?
No, you have a little bit of opening for a return.
Okay.
But you can't like just catch it and then go out of bounds. You have to actually try to return it.
What if I like broke a tackle and then slid?
No.
Okay, then. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm going to die.
You're going to get a concussion either way. Hey, would you rather? This is the Matador question.
Oh, goodness.
Would you rather fight 3 bulls at once or fight 10 bulls one at a time?
Is there a third option of neither?
Nope. You got to fight 3 bulls at once or fight 10 bulls one at a time.
10 bulls one at a time.
Really? Yeah, they can't team up on you.
Yeah.
You get pretty tired, though, by like that 4th or 5th bull.
I'm pretty sure the second one would already take me out.
So you don't have to even worry about the number 3 through 10.
Yeah.
You're already gored by the second one.
Basically.
Hey, here's the last one. Would you rather be a mascot, whatever sport you can pick, or drive a Zamboni?
Drive the Zamboni.
That'd be so much fun.
People would get to see me. Oh, I'd be the coolest Zamboni driver ever.
I'm pretty sure they make really good money, too.
Oh, so do mascots.
Well, yeah, but I mean, a Zamboni, you just sit there and drive twice a game. 3, more than that. Because
3
you have to do
times.
before a game, after.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, guys, that was our show. Here's the thing. Find us on Facebook. Shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you to Westwood One for allowing us to have that audio here today. If you have anything you want to add, find us on Facebook. Look up Here's the Thing. Jacob, do you have any words of wisdom before we head out for the afternoon?
It's wet. Stay safe. Drive safe. Don't do anything crazy. I had to honk at a few people on the way in today.
I'm not surprised. You like to honk at people. You're an aggressive driver, but a safe one.
Thank you.
All right, Webster, hope you have a good day, and thank you for listening to Here's the Thing, and we'll be back next week from 1 to 2 on your station, your voice, the Galaxy Radio.
Bust it.